All right, guys, and welcome back to, I'm really appreciative of y'all being in behind the scenes with us here. We're at the end of the first week with our two Mustangs, and Hannah and I are gonna run you through what we've been doing and show y'all behind the scenes how the training and progression has been going, because today is technically day number 6. It's Monday morning. Hannah and I got back from our trip last week on Tuesday, and we've both been getting in about 2 to 3 sessions a day with these horses as much as we can. There's been at least 2 sessions a day. I had one day where we just had 1, and some days where we've had 3. And so we're just putting in as much time as we can in addition to all of our training horses. And so I'll go ahead and catch you up to speed on where I'm at with my mare. And the first thing I will tell you is I said my mare because she still doesn't have a name. And that seems to be the number one question that I'm getting from my family, from my wife, from Hannah, and all of these other people. In fact, even on Instagram, Extreme Mustang Makeover got involved, and I said that the hardest part about this competition is naming these horses, and we got all sorts of suggestions. There was about a couple categories that they fit into. One was going to be animals, so we had like sparrow, and we had, gosh, what was some of the other, like there was fish was another animal that we got. So they were suggesting other animal names to name a horse, which I always find a little weird. Hannah finds it a little strange when people offer people names for horses. And so I was like, we'll steer clear of that. But then we had food groups. And so we had like one person suggested that we name her Carrot, which I thought again was quite strange. And then there was a bunch of stripper names. So welcome to behind the scenes, right? There was a bunch of names that like Candy with an I and all of these other types of names where we're just like, what the heck? So we still haven't come up with a name yet. My brother put me onto a name. I'm going to discuss it amongst council here, but I think it actually could be a pretty good name. And we'll see if we have a reveal. You guys will be the first ones to know about the name reveal that we finally come up with, because this is the hardest part of the competition. But in all seriousness, what we've been doing this last week with this little mare is she's extremely flighty. You guys have seen some of the video footage. Like, she is super fast and very catty. When we say catty, like she crawls around. Like when she moves, and I might catch her up here in a few minutes and do a little ground work, she tends to move a little bit like a serpent. It's a little eerie, but at the same time it's really, really cool because she's so athletic. And so I'm really, really pumped to keep going with her. But the main thing has been getting her really comfortable being around me. She's the type of horse that really wants me to stay in front of her, and not so sure when I start to get behind her eye on either side. She's a little touchier on that right side, and she's found that this side of the round pen here is way more comfortable than being on that side. Now her stall is over there, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on. We have the wheelbarrows and we got horses coming in and out, and so she's just now started on day number 6 to kind of like seek that spot out. And yesterday was pretty cool because it was the first day that I got to lead her out of the stall. You guys saw some of the footage from the pickup video of Meredith bringing those horses in and out, and she comes out of that stall at 95 miles an hour. And so we've seen a good change in her. When I go to put her back in the stall, I don't lead her in the stall, because there's been 2 instances this last week where first time I saw hind feet because she just panicked in the stall. And when she panicked in the stall, it was just, I got into a position where I was trying to reach for one of her water buckets, and she flipped around because she got real scared, and she just double barreled and kicked the water bucket, and I was standing right next to it. So I got really lucky there. And the other instance was she thought about coming out the stall when I was standing in the doorway, and I threw my hands up, and then she kind of just spun around really fast. So she's very, very catty, very, very fast. It doesn't take much to kind of get her a little worried. So my main thing has been getting her really comfortable with that and getting her caught. So obviously she has a halter on, as you guys can see, and the haltering process probably surprised me a little bit because it went really smoothly. Went really, really smoothly. And I took my time with her. We had to rope her for the first few days and all that. And even still, I think I ended up roping her yesterday just because the catching process was taking longer than I wanted it to. And I don't want it to turn into a game where the horse thinks that they have to run around the round pen to be caught. I just want them to understand, like, hey, we can just be caught. And so it's nice that I can go in the stall now, and I let her out this morning for the 2nd time, which was really nice. But when I go to catch her here, I'm just going to try to go about it like she's domesticated. I understand that she'll move around a little bit, but I just really want to get to where she feels comfortable where I can just approach her and get her caught. Now, were they able to see that she moved off? You guys see how she turned away from me on the fence and she actually lost sight of me there for a second, but she just walked off. To me, that's a huge win, because getting behind this horse is something I really need to work on, obviously because I want to ride her, and she's really unsure about things getting behind her. So yesterday, our groundwork is progressing really well, and I dropped the high line down from the middle of the rafters here. And the high line basically is a way that we can start to teach these horses to tie safely. And so she already understands how to halter, and I worked just trying to move her around when she was on this high line, and that was really beneficial, but I still wasn't able to get behind her. She keeps wanting, she's okay if I can get to her sides, but just getting right behind her is not so great. And another thing, we'll show you this video, is I roped her one day. It was my last session of the evening, and she stepped through a bunch of slack and I caught a hind foot. And she pulled it just tight enough that I couldn't get it off necessarily. I was going to be able to get it off, but, and you guys will see in the clip, basically, I get to teach her how to lead by hind foot, like on day 3 or something like that. So we've gotten a lot done. I mean, this mare went from extremely, extremely touchy to where just standing in this round pen on the first day, she wouldn't stop. She would just be cantering and long trotting around and around. And now I'm, a third of the way the round pen or a quarter of the way the round pen away from her, and she's just hanging out, and she's way more relaxed. You can see how she's walking around. And so my main focus has really just been on this horse's mindset. Really getting her relaxed, getting her confident. And the first thing that we really noticed is that, you get the hindquarters coming up underneath. You get the hips close enough to the front feet, they start walking forward, you start to get them to lead. So when I start to halter break any horses, I always focus on the hind ends coming forward. We'll get the disengagement so we can get them broke loose so that, they don't kick out or anything like that. But then what ends up happening is the shoulders get a little sticky. So about day 3, I started going ahead and directing those shoulders, because she was getting real comfortable and confident with me, but she didn't want to leave her shoulders. She didn't want to drive away from me. And so that's been a big piece of it. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to get her caught here. We're going to show you guys plenty of clips of this last week, and really, really thankful to have you guys join us. This is the times where we're just flying, like things are progressing so fast, and we have so much left to accomplish with these horses. But it's really important that we recognize how far these horses have come in this last week, because honestly, these horses have made more changes in their lives in the last week than, probably some people make in their entire lifetime. And we kind of have to keep that into perspective when we're working with these horses, is that, early on when I did the makeovers, I would have these really long sessions, and now because of time and like how much responsibility I have, I don't have time to have a lot of like super long sessions. It takes the time that it takes, but I really like to go ahead and have multiple shorter sessions with these horses. So you guys can see this is kind of how it starts usually, and she has to move around a little bit. When she goes to move, I'll just kind of ask her to move off, then I'll step back and draw on her, really releasing right here when she's in the middle. When she comes through the middle and she just goes the other way, I let her try to get to the fence, then add a little bit of pressure, so that you got to let them get where they're going before you apply that pressure. And this catching process today, there was a couple days where it was pretty good, and then yesterday she was just a little amped up first thing in the morning. And so now I'm to the point you guys see there where she goes step away, and I can just grab that halter and go ahead and get her caught here. So Hannah and I have been alternating on our lead rope, so I've got a 60-foot rope that it's really handy because I can do some other things with it, as far as getting her comfortable and quiet with being able to like just toss this rope around her and just getting her super quiet about these types of things. It's nice to have a longer rope, and just getting her real comfortable and confident with those. And I'm always trying to start these sessions out with just being able to kind of come up here and rub on them, and trying to get a little further each day. The first couple times I could just rub her on her face, and if she gets a little tight, I always want my horses to feel like they have permission to move, because it's flight, fight, or freeze, and I don't want them to feel like they have to do anything. But if they feel like they can move, they feel like they have permission to kind of move off, then they're less apt to kind of get into a fight mode or a freeze mode, and neither one of those are what we're really after. So I want my horse to feel like they can move, because if they move, I can direct them, right? If their feet are moving, we can direct them somewhere. And that's something I've been really thankful with this horse. She has been a lot of horse to work with, and your timing has been crucial because she learns so fast. But the fact that she has been kind of flighty has been to my advantage, because I haven't had to push her to move that much. Whereas when you guys chat with Hannah, sometimes that's been a little bit opposite on her, and her horse is a little, less apt to want to move. And so it's been a neat process, because the approach is what Hannah and I are both working towards are the same goals, to be successful in this competition, to give these horses an education of a lifetime. And so that's really good. You guys see how I got those shoulders freed up there, and she didn't take off, whereas yesterday she would kind of really book it. So that's the first time on the first request that I've been able to get those shoulders to move off and it not be emotional. So we're getting somewhere. But it's gonna be a really neat process for you guys as Hannah and I have gotten into this, because we got two totally different horses that need totally different approaches, but we go into the same goal, and you guys are the ones that get to see this process through. And you get to see all the behind the scenes stuff, the things that we call happy mistakes, like me catching that hind foot by accident and then getting to work through that. And you understanding it's so much about perspective and making the most of the situation. So nonetheless, I'll let Hannah take it from here. I appreciate y'all joining us. Hope you guys are enjoying this first week update. We'll have more. We're gonna have fun clips throughout the week, just little one-off things that happen. And then of course we'll have our week 2 update. So you guys stay tuned. If there's anything particular, like a name that you'd like, a name video that you'd like to see, just go ahead and let us know. Send us a message and say, hey, I'd really like to see this part of the training process, or this, that, and the other. It gives us ideas on how we can kind of bring you guys more insight behind the scenes, but we're doing our best. We're really appreciative of you guys being here. So let's jump over to Hannah's round pen.
All right, so this is my week 1 update with my mare, who is number 3708. Wow, I forget already because I named her at the beginning of the week. I decided to name her Chug-a-Lug, which I think is fitting because she's just super laid back and very chill about everything. It almost feels like working with somebody's spoiled pony rather than a wild horse. So she's coming along really well, I think. I'm struggling with confidence a little bit just because this is my first time doing this, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing all the time, so it's definitely a learning process. What I'm going to do first is just kind of start with a warm-up, because I want to get her attention. She's already paying pretty good attention to me. She's got one ear and one eye, but she's also half asleep, so kind of want to wake her up and get her moving this morning. See how that goes. She's definitely one that doesn't want to move forward, and if she has the option to come to me, she will, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because I think in the future teaching transitions and getting her to move forward will be a little more challenging. We've definitely progressed a lot farther in hand in some ways than I thought we would, but at the same time she still has a little trouble keeping her mind on me if I just ask her to come towards me. And she's been really sensitive about her nose. So I've tried to avoid, I've kind of regressed and moved away to work on other things for a little while, because she was getting a little bit overwhelmed with that. And I think I was pushing it a little too hard. And so she stopped trying, and that's where we left off with that. I think as of Thursday, I can now actually grab the bottom of her halter, which was new, because I used to do that and she'd just flip out and kind of run backwards. But I've noticed that starting with the round penning stuff helps her kind of bring her attention towards me, because in order to do that stuff, she has to bring her nose towards me. And so that helps her calm down a little bit and actually think in my direction, rather than just bringing her shoulder to me, which is how she started. She just kind of side pass her shoulder and be you can have my shoulder, but you can't have my face. So we're trying to work on just getting the brain and the body instead of just the body. And even this is better. When I got her out on Saturday the last time, she was like all the way stuck to the rail still when I'd push her around like this. And now she's starting to actually like come off the rail about 3 feet and try to like be more with me and more in the middle where she can rest. And I've gone through, there's that sassiness. Like that's just kind of like moving forward. She doesn't like to do that a whole lot, but it's funny. There you go, that's a little good. And I've actually struggled a lot with like trying to control her shoulders too much, and I think that's part of the reason that I've had a little trouble driving her away more. Or at least that's what Colton's telling me, so that's what I'm trying to look for, is like more to like control her hips first and then control her shoulders second, because I keep pushing the shoulders away. She's like, okay, yeah, I'll just leave, that's fine. But this is good because she's relaxed and she's looking at me with like all of her attention, which is something I couldn't get at the beginning of the week, so. And she's had a day off, so I don't know where completely she is mentally, because they get Sunday off. She's definitely one that like, you can't go to her nose first, you have to go to her shoulder first and like go from there. Well, that's fresh. And some of the stuff with like having a day off like this, you can have to like go back and revisit the stuff that you know you're having trouble with last week and you may not have like completely solidified with them. Because right here she's just not quite relaxed yet, so I'm not going to try to move too fast and get too far with her touching wise, just because I know that her face is kind of a subject that we need to work more on. But you know, like fortunately or unfortunately, I have to have her whole face and head in order to teach her these things, to give, you know, to give to pressure and stuff. I think top priority is just to be able to get her leading from here to the stall, because we can lead a little bit in the round pen, but it's really sketchy if we try to go in like a more enclosed space or like in a direct straight line, because she'll like follow me a little bit in here, but it's just kind of like too much if she can see me with both eyes and like be touched at the same time, if that makes sense. So mostly just going forward, like working on getting her more, like not more relaxed because she's already relaxed, but more like accepting of like the touch and like just general movement around her, because some of that's still a little sketchy. And yeah, just leading in and out, I think is what we're looking for.